very close with her, and she was his only sister. So when she died, my dad fell into a deep, dark depression. My dad was always a casual drinker, but when this happened, he completely turned to alcohol to ease all of his pain. Alcohol, being a depressant, made his situation much worse. He ended up losing his job of over 20 years to his sickness, and all he knew was to turn to alcohol when things got bad. He became a very sick man, and it eventually got so bad to where my dad felt as if he lost everything. My father then tried multiple times to take his own life. My mother saw how bad this was hurting my sisters and I, and she knew she needed to do something. She kicked him out and told him to get sober and to get help, and he can come back home. He went in and out of rehab and hospitals, but nothing was helping him because he did not want to help himself. He just kept getting worse and worse, and no matter how much we tried to help, nothing was working. Around March, my father gave money to my oldest sister, Casey, so that she could go on her spring break trip, and he gave money to my sister, Lindsay, for her cheerleading competition. He also gave me his jacket and his blanket that he loved. We didn't see this then, but my father had his own plan. And on April 2nd, 2005, my father committed suicide. This is honestly the most horrific thing anyone can go through. After his death, my mom blamed herself and still does, because she thinks she should have stayed with him and tried harder to help him, but in all reality, there was nothing any of us could have done. My dad's death affected everyone differently, and because my parents were divorced, my oldest sister had to make all the arrangements for his funeral. She took over the mother role, making her biggest concern taking care of my sister and I. At the time, she didn't really focus on his death and busied herself with us and the arrangements. It never really hit her until she graduated and joined the Marines, but she was far away from home with no friends or family, so reality set in for her. My other sister was very emotional and she journaled her feelings. To this day, she still journals when she misses him, and journaling is a very good way to handle grief. I, on the other hand, became angry. I was so mad at my dad for so long because it was like he chose to leave me. That's what hurt the most, and I portrayed my anger on others. I got into fights at school. I was defiant and I didn't listen to anyone, and I completely rebelled. My temper got shorter and shorter, and I constantly snapped on everyone. I was so miserable being that angry, but because I was 13, no one understood why I was so mad and why I was so mean all the time. So I was labeled as the girl with the anger problem, and that made it even worse. I wish more than anything that I would have listened then when everyone told me to see a counselor. This past summer, I went on my own, and I saw a counselor, and it helped me tremendously. Although losing a parent to suicide is quite possibly the worst feeling ever, it taught me so much, and I grew from it. The whole situation taught me not to give up, even when things got hard, and trust me, it didn't get any easier after he died. I had other battles I had to fight, and I stuck with them and fought them all. It made me such a stronger person, and I know that I have gone through such a painful thing that I can get through anything that gets thrown my way. I realized that when I got over all my anger with the help of therapy, that I had spent so much time being angry that I forgot all the good memories. This is, hands down, the biggest regret I will ever have. I wish more than anything that I could remember what it sounded like when he said my name, or his contagious laughter that kills me inside every day, because not one day goes by that I don't think about him. My father's death affected everyone in my family differently, and we weren't really able to talk about it. We can now, but then it was much harder because we didn't want to make it worse. We were afraid to bring up certain memories because we didn't want to make the pain worse than it already was. My dad's death affected me personally, and I went into depression for a little, but I think my anger overpowered my depression and wouldn't let me be sad. I also suffer from insomnia still to this day, and I've had to go to doctors for it. Shortly after my dad's death, Casey graduated and went up to the Marines, and a year later, Lindsay also moved away to start her own life. Because within the span of 2 years, I felt like I lost my father and my 2 older sisters. I felt alone, and I felt abandoned. My entire support system crumbled to the ground besides my mom. And let me tell you, my mom is the most amazing person on this earth. She stuck by me through my pouring tears and through my violent anger, and for that, she is my hero, my best friend, and the strongest woman I have ever met. I could never thank her for all she's done. I also gain trust issues towards everyone because I feel that if I let people in, then they'll leave me too. But I worked through all my problems with therapy, and because of that, I'm a much better and happier person. I worked past my anger and my trust issues, and I learned to forgive my father for what he did. I accepted his decision no matter how much it hurt me, and I learned to love and miss him rather than hate and forget him. The reason for me to stand up here and tell you my story is because I want you all to learn from my experience, because I don't want anyone to have to go through that. If something tragic happens in your life, I want you to know that there are ways to cope with it. I know that everyone is sick of hearing this, but suicide is absolutely not the answer. Ask anyone for help. Ask a teacher, a counselor, a friend, a family member. You can ask me, because I will never turn anyone away. I know what it feels like to feel alone and abandoned and like nobody cares. Think about how your decisions could affect people in the long run. Look at me and all I've gone through because of my father's decisions. You don't want to do that to the people you love. So if you're contemplating taking your own life, think twice and find a different way out. Another major thing I want you to know is to take this week seriously. Yellow Ribbon Week was not made as a joke, so do not treat it that way. The cards and the stickers and the speakers, they all have a meaning and they all have a purpose. Even the expression that I hear all the time of, oh, I'm going to go kill myself now, is not funny. It's serious and it's offensive. I get so upset when I hear people say that, because you may all think this is a joke, but it's my life. And because of my dad's decisions, I've cried over every dance he's missed. I think about all the birthdays and my graduation, my wedding, and my future children, and how he's missing out on all of that. It has taught me what kind of person I want to be and what kind of a parent I want to be when I grow up. I have learned from my father's mistakes, and I know that now I am a better person. So this upcoming April, I will mourn the 4 years that I have lived without my father.